Hi there, Greg Braille from Sonoa, one more time here with Ryan Boniulo. We're going to talk a little bit about security policy now. It's something we talk about a lot at Sonoa actually, the idea of having security policy potentially in a separate place from your application logic. And there are a whole lot of reasons for that, and actually I think I'll let Ryan talk about why this is a good idea and how it could be implemented.
Right, so we have to give Sun some credit here because Sun and the Java world have contributed significantly to the concept of policy enforcement points that are separate from policy decision points, which are separate from policy administration points, which are then separate from policy information points. So these PEPs and PAPs and PDPs and PIPs are all outside and separate from your business logic, where your application's running, where your data is codified and encrypted. Right? So, and there's a challenge here in secure software development and secure software development lifecycle is that most of your developers need to be focused on the business logic, not the security logic. And they might not even have the security skill, and taking the time to train them will more than likely break your schedule. Your project plan will just go out the window because of a skill gap. And so there's a lot of value in being able to apply a policy enforcement point tier after the code has been written, and not having to embed that code or the security logic in the code.
And in the web services world, that's often easier than it is in a lot of other areas.
It's extremely easy. In my experience using ServiceNet, once I've got a WSDL or a REST service running, all I have to do is point my Sonoa Design Studio to that web service. It pulls in all the methods that the web service is exposing, and then I can start applying policies to each of those methods. And each of those policies are effectively business rules that we're enforcing.
And you can reuse them, of course.
Yes, and you can, once you've got your policy, you can then attach that policy to multiple web services. And so you're going to create one policy for authentication, another policy for authorization. You'll have another policy for rate limiting. These are all security policies.
Right.
You might have it, and they relate to service levels as well. So having your development team focus on what they've been hired to do, which is write the business function that's providing some kind of service or generating revenue, executing a transaction, pricing a portfolio, doing stochastic calculus on a book of tickers and grabbing some market data. That's a completely separate skill set from securing the transaction on the edge of the cloud.
And often a separate team, separate set of audit regulations, of government regulations, you name it.
Right. So I think it's extremely valuable to have this concept of an edge of security policy enforcement that sits outside of the business logic. And think about the power if you want to change a security policy. Let's say that you have a policy for a role. That role could be, we'll just use the role junior trader on a trading desk. And he's using a cloud service on the internet to price public market data, tickers in a portfolio. Could be an IRA, could be a 401k, whatever. That junior trader only has perhaps $1 million to spend in a given day. The policy on the trading desk could change to say that all junior traders no longer have $1 million. And once they've executed $500,000 in transactions, they're done for the day. And so if you change that policy at the edge, as soon as the transaction comes in, it's enforced, and the transaction will get requested. It'll say, no, I'm not even going to allow you to price this transaction. Your account's out of money. Have a nice day.
And it can be run by a different team, managed by different people, and on a different life cycle than the actual application.
But it's instant enforcement.
Yes.
And it's wherever that service is running. So that's the concept, is you don't need to go into the code and redefine what it means if user is in role. The old way of doing security was you would say, is user in role, and you'd have a bunch of code in your Java program or your C# program or your C++ program that would define, well, what is that role able to do in this program? By taking that logic and taking it and putting it outside of the business logic, you can now change the parameters. The policy information point could be the source of those parameters. The policy decision point goes and grabs that value and the value could be, you know, bucket of money or, you know, transaction limit. And if that value changes, then instantaneously the transaction is denied.
And a warning is issued and an audit event is generated and you name it.
The user gets a friendly error message stating why the transaction's failed.
So with that, we're going to end this segment. Thank you very much.
I don't know how smooth